Here it is. I've been excited about getting this one for a long time. This is the xTool S1. It's the world's first 40-watt diode laser that is enclosed. And I'm excited to do some stuff with this and test it out. Alright, so I'm going to take this all out of the box, get it together, not going to make you watch it. And then I will tell you how long it takes me to get it together. But you need to know what I have. I have the 40-watt laser encased here. I have the honeycomb base for the S1. I have the automatic conveyor belt. I have the riser, and I have the air assist. I'm going to get this all together. We'll come back, and then we'll start making some stuff and testing this bad boy out. Alright, I'm done. The laser itself took about 15 minutes to put together. All I had were a few screws to attach the laser head, and then there were 2 blocks on either side. There's stickers to show you where they're at that you have to remove so the laser head can go forward and back. So the majority of the 45 minutes it took for me to put this together was the base. It's just because I got myself confused. It's fairly easy to assemble. It only has 4 screws, but I had to figure it out because I'm not as bright as I think I am. I have not put together the conveyor belt at this time. We'll do that in a later portion of this video. Now before we get started, come on in and I'll show you some specifics of this laser. Before we move on to anything else, let's talk about some of the safety features of this new S1. This right here, this green plastic, is laser safety plastic, so you don't have to wear goggles with it. When you shut this, you're able to operate the laser. But when you open it, or if there's any sort of movement from the lid, it'll stop lasing inside. It has 2 fire detection sensors located on the inside. This thing has 2 light bars, one in the front, one in the back, and it's really good to help with seeing your piece in low level light. It has an emergency shut-off button. If you got little kids running around or people that come in your shop and they're little busybodies and you don't want them messing with your laser, all you have to do is take this out right here, this little fob right here, and it locks the machine, and you can take it with you on vacation. But make sure you put it back if you want to try to use it again. It actually comes with 2 of those. This thing has something brand new. It's called Pinpoint Positioning System. And what it can do is it supports multiple shapes, including circles, rectangles, polygons, and lines. It also allows you to mark multiple objects, so you can do them all on one pass. This means you don't have to use a jig. This laser has dynamic focusing engraving. It's an autofocus. The S1 has many accessories and upgrades to include laser modules. There's a 20-watt, 40-watt, and the IR laser. The RA2 Pro. It has a riser base, an automatic conveyor feeder, honeycomb panel, and an air purifier. And last but not least, it has a fire safety set, which can help extinguish fires before they get out of hand. I'm being told this exhaust right here is super powerful and can just whisk away all those deadly gases that are produced during lasing. It's so powerful, you can feel the magic as the dust disappears. Whing! It also comes with this exhaust fan hose that you can take and exhaust it outside. But I just want you to remember, don't stick your finger in the fan. If you take this shield off, don't stick your finger in there. My system came with this air assist right here. It's an automated air assist, so I have it on auto and it's controlled by the creative space. Now this laser is compatible with Lightburn, but what I'm going to use is the Creative Space by xTool because I find it a very good program and it's very compatible with the xTool lasers. Connecting this to the computer is super simple. All you do is bring up Creative Space and connect it with this cord right here that they give you. Once it's connected, you can go over to the Wi-Fi and connect it to Wi-Fi from there, and then you'll never have to hook it up to your computer again. One thing you have to do before you start lasing is set the distance. You're going to click the little crosshairs that's on the Creative Space. Once you hit that button, the laser will extend the probe, and boom, you have the distance. Once it checks the distance, it goes back and resets the probe. So the best way I've found to test out a laser is by doing the test cuts. We're going to do test cuts and engraves on this on slate, metal, acrylic, wood, everything you can imagine. We're going to try it out and see how it does just for you. Starting off, we're going to use some 3mm plywood to do a cut test, and then we'll do an engrave test, and you'll be able to see what they look like. Now it's time to do an engrave test. So one of the coolest things about this laser is I can tell it where to engrave or cut. So on this piece of wood, I've got this little area right here, but I'd have to find it and set it up and get it all ready. But this way they have this thing called marking, and I'm gonna mark where I want it to engrave, and then we'll engrave it. First thing you're gonna do is hit start marking. Choose the shape that you wanna mark, and then hit start marking. So now that I've got it set up to mark, I put it right here, and then I push the little button on the front, it beeps. I bring this laser up, push it again. So then you hit end, done. Once you hit start, it'll start engraving, and there you go. You have it right in the position you wanted it. And it cut it out exactly where I wanted it to cut it out. That's pretty awesome. And engraved it too. I used the settings off of the machine for the engraving, and I probably should have been darker, but I like it. Cutting and engraving acrylics, kind of fun. You got to make sure you're able to vent it outside. I kind of messed up this cut test right here, and I'm gonna flash forward to the end because I had to redo it. The top portion cut out at 80% and 1, I believe. I'm not really sure what I was set to, but it was too much, and it actually cut all the way through the top part too. I do a lot of slate coasters, so I'm going to do 2 tests. One up to 50% power, the other one up to 100. And then I'll show you the results. You can see right here, this is the one up to 50% power, and it has some good shading to it. Now I'm going to show you the one that was all the way up to 100% power, and that's right here. I mentioned pinpoint positioning engraving earlier, and this is what I'm going to do here on this small stainless steel medallion. As you see, I got to choose what I'm engraving. I go to mark your position, and I do 3 spots on this medallion on the corners, and magically it shows up on the screen. I size the logo to the medallion. Once I hit process, it'll start engraving on the medallion, and boom, perfect alignment. I'll talk more about jigs later, but I just want to tell you that you can do as many pieces as you need to on the S1 using that positioning system for engraving or cutting. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm putting in 3 different coasters, and then we'll go ahead and we will engrave them all. So this is what happens when you laser onto one of these flasks here. It's got the convex and concave surfaces, and you see the rainbow color effect. That's what happens. and you can see the outside didn't quite get lasered. So this machine has the ability to check the depth of a curved surface. And I'm going to show you how to do that on a brand new flask right here. But before we go on, I need to fill this with water so it doesn't buckle the metal. Now that it's filled with water, put it on here. And let me show you how to get this thing so it prints correctly. I was really anxious coming into this part of the review. I really didn't know if I was going to be able to do this. I thought it would be a lot harder than it was. It was actually really simple. What you do is have the laser mark 2 areas on your flask. Once that's done, you're going to choose how many rows and how many columns you want it to check for the height, and it does it automatically. You can see here it shows you the curved surface. Once you're done there, you're going to take your logo, put it into the box it shows, and then hit process. And the flask is complete. And you can see here, I haven't even wiped this thing off yet, and it looks fantastic. Look at that. There is none of that rainbowing effect right there. That is incredibly nice. Putting the rotary in here is simple as putting it in, plugging it up. The place where you hook up the rotary is right inside here. Come on in and I'll show you. So right here is where you're going to hook up the rotary. And you should be ready to rock and roll. How nice that came out. Awesome. So, it's time that we're going to try to engrave some glass. And you'll see I don't have any paint on this stuff, and I usually use the tempera paint that I get from Dollar Tree. I don't have any of that ready, plus it takes a little while to dry, and I want to get this done. So, we're going to take a Sharpie marker, and we're going to make a black square on this, and you'll see it'll work. So let's go over here and get this thing engraved. Looks like it did all right. Let me wipe this off. I should have made it a little bit whiter, but let me wipe this off and see how it looks. So not too bad for my first test on this thing. To simulate a power outage, I'm going to go ahead and pull this power cord out of here and see what happens. Now we'll plug it back up. Hit the button. And it goes back to doing it. All right, now that we're done testing on the laser without the conveyor, it's time to install the conveyor belt system. And I'm going to get that done. I'm going to come back. I'll let you know how long it took and whether it was easy or not. And then we're going to do some test cuts on that and see how it works. All right, I am done putting the conveyor together. It took me about 35 minutes, a lot longer than it actually should have. I'm kind of excited about this. I want to see how it scores and it engraves. We're not going to do a massive area because it takes a long time to engrave. But let's go ahead and try that scoring and that engraving and see how it turns out. This has good implications on making larger signs. The engraving and the scoring came out really well. I was wondering if there was going to be any issues with the lines, but they are fairly smooth and no issues. And the engraving came out pretty good. Okay, now it's time for us to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of this. But as always, I'm going to start off with the cons of this machine, and then we'll head on into the pros, and then I'll give you my final thoughts on it. So the first thing I want to talk about is the crumb tray in the honeycomb. Yeah, it's a great thing. You can catch all those little bits and pieces that fall through your honeycomb. But the issue is that the honeycomb moves, and so does the crumb tray. You can see right here, it has a wide range of movement. This could be an issue if the laser is bumped and it moves a piece, or if you're on there and you're trying to batch out a few, put them in the same place, it could be an issue. Next thing I want to talk about is the lid. What a great thing. You can laser stuff without having to worry about eye protection, but there is a downside to this. This laser safe plastic is very scratch prone. You can see in the video that it has a lot of scratches, and this is just from me wiping it off with my cloth. The laser was really easy to put together, and so was the riser base. The big issue is that the riser base in my manual was not the same riser base that they sent me, but it was easily overcome. I went to their website under troubleshooting and found the correct video to show me how to put it together. Turns out I had thrown away 6 screws when I got the box. So make sure you check your box thoroughly so you don't have to go out and buy new screws. My fault. The conveyor system was fairly easy to put together. I just wish that the manual had better instructions and showed the screws or marked the packets with step 1 and step 2. That would have taken care of 90% of my problem. I really wish they would have put a camera on this system. With the pinpoint positioning system, that would have just enhanced our ability to laser things exactly where we want. So there is something in the con section about the conveyor belt, which isn't really a con, it's more of a user error, but I want to talk to you about it. Overall, it did very well in the scoring and the engraving. I did a test to cut out some letters, and here they are. What happened to these letters are they're too small, and I didn't have the conveyor belt system support in the right area. So what happened is these things fell through onto the bottom and it kept lasering. It also caused one of the letters to kick up, and what happened was that it started going over to the letter and it got hung up. You can fix this issue easily by making sure the support is in the right place and also making sure that you do larger pieces. I also learned that when you're using the conveyor, you need to make sure that there's enough wood outside the machine so the conveyor belt can continue to push and pull on the piece as it lays or engraved. The conveyor machine can only do up to a specified thickness of wood. I really wish it would be able to do up to 3/4 inch wood, but unfortunately it can't. Finally, with the conveyor belt, you need to make sure that you have a completely flat piece of wood, because if not, it can bow up and hit the back side of the machine as it exits. There you have it. That's all the cons. There's not very many of them, but there are quite a few pros, so let's go ahead and get into that. The first thing I want to talk about is the pinpoint positioning system and the ability to do multiple items in different shapes. The pinpoint positioning system is super easy to use. It's just a couple of clicks. You hit the first button on the front of the laser and boom, you're in business. This could take the place of any jigs that you need to do because you're able to put them exactly where you want them. This thing is a game changer, I think. It also has an absolute coordinate. So wherever your laser is on the laser bed, it shows it in creative space as a red X on the screen. So you know exactly where you're going to start lasing at. Number 2 pro, and I think this is amazing, it's being able to do curved surfaces. Yes, you can do curved surfaces on other lasers, but it's a little bit of a tricky situation there. On this thing, it just measures it. You saw it on that flask, and it came out amazing. So that is definitely a plus. The versatility of the S1 really blew my mind. The accessories and upgrades that you can do to this, like the conveyor belt, the riser base, and also the rotary, just are something that's needed in this market, especially in an enclosed laser. The portability of the S1 is great. I know it's a little bit heavy and a little bit bulky, but it's something that you can put in your car, bring to a craft show, and be able to pump out those tumblers, glasses, or any other project that you're looking to do, even larger signs for individuals that are looking for it on the spot. Last but not least, when I got the S1, it really intimidated me. It looks sleek, it looks futuristic, it looks scary to use. It looked like it would be super hard, but I'm telling you, it was simple and easy to get together, minus my ability to read instructions. Finally, this thing is super simple and easy to use. I believe it's so easy that my son could use it, and he's not much brighter than I am. My final thoughts on this thing has pinpoint positioning system, and it also has absolute coordinates, and you can't beat that combination. The only thing that would make it better is that camera that I talked about earlier. The portability really adds to your game. You can bring it to the craft shows or anywhere else that you need to. Hell, you can bring it over to a friend's party and do some engraving for them while you're there. I know that it seems to be a little bit of expensive with the base model with the air assist and the honeycomb coming in right around $2,400, but it might be what you're looking for to do those larger items at these craft fairs. xTool really is upping their game, and they're really bringing me on board further and further. This is probably my newest favorite larger laser system. I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. I think the conveyor belt could use a little bit of an upgrade, or I just need to upgrade my knowledge on it. So, but otherwise, this thing did very well today. Well, I guess that's everything about the laser that I can tell you or show you. I appreciate you guys stopping by. If you could, head on down to the comments section. Leave a comment if you have a question, or if you just want to have a comment about the machine. Tell me what you think about it. And if you could, while you're down there, hit that thumbs up button. Hit the subscribe button if you feel like I've given you a little bit of information. All right, until next video, stay cool.